Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to get started. We apologize for the delay. We had some technical difficulties in the other room. And we also just thank you all for your patience. We had to move into the fourth floor because, as many of you all know, the boardroom is being worked on. There's been some construction that's going to be happening up in the fifth floor. So they've asked us in the meantime while that is finishing for us to meet in this location. So we appreciate your patience and also just in general your acceptance to the different accommodations we've had to take, especially for this meeting. This is our first official social innovation meeting of 2025. So thanks again for joining the commission and being just an integral part of the work and the thought process that's being really put into place for us to advance some of the original initiatives that really the commission is set to do. We're gonna begin by calling the meeting to official order. So we're gonna ask Andrea if she can take attendance so we can record who is present here today and who's with us virtually, and then we'll begin with the official items on our agenda.
Chair Anaya,
Present.
Vice Chair Lane,
Present.
ex officio criticals, Commissioner Mayor Ellsbury, Commissioner Alston, Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Brutus, Commissioner Caliento, Commissioner Cooley,
Here.
Commissioner De Laurentiis, Commissioner Dubois, Commissioner Durlaw, Commissioner Flores,
Present.
Commissioner Freeman,
Present.
Commissioner Superintendent Siskillen,
Here.
Commissioner Mails,
Here.
Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Raymond,
Here.
Commissioner Rice, Commissioner Rogers, Commissioner Schleifer,
Here.
and Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Andrea.
Commissioner Johnson is here. I didn't hear my name.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. We'll make sure to note you on our end. Okay. So we'll begin with the public speakers. Do we have any registered public speakers or any comments that were set for us to put as part of our agenda today?
We don't have any comments or speak.
Thank you. And just as a reminder for those that are, tuning in, public testimony requests or written comments can be submitted up to 24 hours in advance of the meeting to the following email address. It's the number 7 district.office@gmail.com. Again, that's 7 district.office@gmail.com. Okay. I am going to just do a quick, obviously want to thank our vice chair for all of the work that he's been doing. We did have a shift in one of our presenters. So was there anything you wanted to state before we go to our first presenter? Okay,
Appreciate it.
so then we'll want to thank Carmen Vergara, who is here with us today. Who is the Vice President of the Community Partnership at the Chicago Botanic Garden, the farm on Ogden, for swiftly, coming and joining us and talking about some of the initiatives that the Chicago Botanic Garden has undertaken. I think it's extremely important for us to really look at, as we move over with our proposals and our initiatives, to also really tap into the great talent and initiatives that the county is already taking. So we're very appreciative for you joining us today. Carmen has a long history of doing a lot of work in the 7 districts, so I'm even more appreciative. She was previously with the Esperanza Health Centers, which again takes such a big, has a big footprint in our district. So thank you again for joining us. And I know there's going to be a presentation that you're going to be able to share with us today. So thanks again. If anybody's missing a presentation, let us know. We can make sure. I'll hand it over.
Yeah, just say next slide.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you commissioners and superintendents. My name is Carmen Vergara. I'm the Vice President of Community Partnerships, and I have been with the Chicago Botanic Garden for a little bit over a year. And as Commissioner Anaya noted, I was previously the Chief Operating Officer at Esperanza Health Center for a number of years. And what really drew me to the garden was their work on addressing social determinants of health. And, I spent so many years in direct healthcare service where I would hear regularly providers say to every patient, eat healthier, exercise, and reduce stress. And those are the three really important recommendations that are made really at every visit for every patient. But the challenge is for patients to connect to those services in their communities that are affordable. And so a lot of the work that Windy City Harvest does as one of the branches of the Botanic Garden, connecting patients to that work. So really to get us going, I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about the Chicago Botanic Garden in general. Our mission is to cultivate the power of plants to sustain and enrich life. Our main campus, which is what most folks really think about when they think about the Botanic Garden, is up in Glencoe, and they receive over 1 million visitors every year. Some of their other, it's one of the largest public gardens in the nation, and it's part of the Forest Preserves of Cook County. So we are on Forest Preserve land. It's one of the top cultural four-season destinations. Even being in a cold climate, we still get tons of visitors during the winter for some of our signature events. It's got a nationally recognized program, including our work in science and plant conservation. So that's really all about making sure that plants don't go extinct. There's a top-notch education and horticulture therapy program also at the garden. And for those who might not be as familiar, therapeutic horticulture is sort of in the branch of, art therapy, music therapy, plant therapy. Sometimes talk therapy isn't for everyone. So, people want other ways to really reduce stress that doesn't necessarily involve a counseling room. And so what I'm here to talk about today is our urban agriculture program. It's Windy City Harvest. So Windy City Harvest is the garden's work that's all in Chicago proper. So the department was established in the early 2000s. It was the 501c3, where the focus was on urban agriculture job training. There were many, many partners that were part of the initial Windy City Harvest. And in 2008, the board voted to integrate Windy City Harvest into the larger Chicago Botanic Garden. All of our work is partner focused. So all of our farms and sites are in partnership with another organization who have really invited us to be there and to operate farms or gardens. One of our signature programs that we're super proud of is one of the very first produce prescription programs in Chicago, which is our Veggie RX program that we host in partnership with Lawndale Christian Health Center. And then in 2008, our flagship headquarters was built in 2018, which is the farm on Ogden, also in partnership with Lawndale Christian Health Center. To give you a little bit of insight of the scope of the work of Windy City Harvest, we operate 10 farms and gardens in Chicago proper, and most of them are on the south and the west side of the city. So our headquarters is Farm on Ogden in North Lawndale. Then we have 2 locations in Little Village. We have a garden in Austin in collaboration with PCC Community Health. We have a garden also in Washington Park in collaboration with the Chicago Park District. There's 2 locations, one location in Garfield Park and Grand Boulevard, the near West Side, and also McCormick Place. So we're a little spread out, but really mostly on the south and the west side of the city. And all of these farms are farms and gardens where either we're planting and growing produce, or it's a beautification site where we have flowers that make the community more and more beautiful. We really feel that it's important for people it's important to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables and healthy spaces, but also beauty and joy that's up at the main campus is also needed and necessary in the south and the west side. So this is a diagram to help explain our work. So our work is rooted in urban agriculture. So this means that we are seeding plants, we are nurturing plants, and we are harvesting. All of this is done through part of our job training program. So we have a mission to help build capacity for urban agriculture and to build the next generation of farmers. The majority of the folks that are in our job training program were previously involved in the justice system. We get support and help from DFSS to run this program. And when trainees are part of our work, they train with us for 14 weeks. And when they graduate, they have food safety certification, which then it can be transferable to other types of employment. If someone is really, really interested after doing our job training program, they could then participate in our apprenticeship program, where they do a 9-month certificate with City Colleges of Chicago. We teach the class and do hands-on, a field experience as well, where people will then learn a little bit more about theory and about plants and really how they work and its effect on climate. And for those who are really interested after the apprenticeship, we have an incubator program where we have land use agreements for people who want to attempt to start a small business in urban agriculture, but our supports minimizes their risk. So we offer support over the course of 3 to 5 years, where they get to have land that they can use, build their business, and we connect them to everything from technical support from us, and also business support as well. So all of this work is being done to grow produce, and we grow everything. We grow garlic, we grow potatoes, carrots, peppers, like everything that can grow here in Chicago, we grow. And then these 4 arrows signal where our produce is going. So we are using the produce for our VeggieRx program in partnership with Glendale Christian Health Center and PCC. So those 2 federally qualified health centers, what they do is they will connect us with patients that they've identified as high risk to having a diet-related illness. And they are able to come to the farm in Ogden to pick up a box of produce every week for 40 weeks throughout the year. And so last year, we worked with a little over 3,000 patients to connect them to this produce. So that's the number of patients who are eligible to come out and receive free produce every week. We also have a market inside the farm on Ogden that's open to the public. It's open 5 days a week, where we stock it with our, locally grown produce, and we sell it at very reasonable prices. We want to make sure that community members have access to our produce and that cost is not a barrier. We also work with a local wholesale distributor that then sells produce to local restaurants. And then more and more, we're looking to work with community-based organizations like pantries who want access to locally grown food. So those are really the 4 channels of where our produce goes, but it's all part of a job training system where we want to make sure that the job training is for people from the community, and then the produce that we grow also as much as possible stays in the community as well. So as I mentioned, so much of our work is in partnership with other organizations and agencies, and this is a snapshot of many of the partners that we actively have. And so the partnerships are related to land use. Some of it is related to funding. Some of it is related to referrals to us, training program, referrals to us for participants to the VeggieRx program. We partner with After School Matters, where we work with adolescents to teach them about urban agriculture as well. It really creates a safe space for folks to go to, for young adolescents to be at during the summer months. And so these are all the partners that we're grateful to have. I also want to highlight 2 other partnerships that we have with UIC and Good Food is Good Medicine. So I mentioned the VeggieRx program where folks come out to pick up produce from us. And it isn't for us just a distribution where we're giving out boxes. We have food cooking demonstrations in our commercial kitchen where people will get a new recipe every week that will help transform whatever produce was in the box for that week. We specifically curate every week a box so that we have some variety of produce in every box. And then we have a recipe that we also make sure is culturally relative to the communities that we're serving. And then we do taste tests, we do demonstrations. There's so much engagement with the recipients of the program. We have a Facebook page where sometimes we'll have participants take pictures of the things that they made at home and are sharing recipes. So there's quite a bit of engagement among the participants as well. And so we wouldn't be able to do this without the support of some of our partners, and UIC is one of our big partners. The College of Nursing, the School of Public Health are really invested in the work that we do, and so they send their trainees or students to help us with the volume of work. And so some of our strategic imperatives is really to continue growing the Garden's Chicagoland presence, and it's doing that through partnerships. Some of our goals are really to continue to increase the amount of production at Windy City Harvest. And this is because we do have a high demand for the produce that we're growing. Every week, every other week, we have another organization who is asking us if they could source their produce from us, and we at the moment can't keep up with demand because it's quite a bit of asks that we're getting, but we're hoping to maximize production as much as possible. Of course, really, like the core mission to our work is to build urban agriculture capacity. So with the number of trainees that we have every year, it's close to about 50 to 60 trainees every year. Then they go out and they continue to find work in the sector. And that's really what we're hoping to do, to be able to make those connections for people in urban agriculture so that they continue contributing to the landscape here in Chicago. We want to continue increasing community member exposure to our work and experiential learning. So some of our sites are really great for tours for young students to be able to come and learn about plants, to be able to learn about how to grow your own food and just the benefits of locally grown produce. And so we're looking to expand that work with the schools here in Chicago. The VegRx program is also super popular. It's a very expensive program for us to operate, but it's one where we see the benefits. We're starting to work with the 2 health centers to collect biometric data to show the outcomes of connecting people to produce. There was a recent article in the New England Journal of Medicine that we're really proud of in collaboration with London Christian Health Center that talks about the benefits of connecting people and connecting them to produce. We know that it's evidence like this that we need for payers to be interested in paying for this work. And then we're looking to build a new signature experiences at the farm on Upton. So the garden has some beautiful events, and we'd like to see some of that here on the south and the west side of Chicago. So for us, it's not just connecting people to like the basics in life. We also want to connect them to the beautiful joy that the garden brings. And so very lofty strategic plan. And so yeah, we're happy to talk to anybody who might have either questions about this or can think of ways that we could partner together to make all this happen.
Thank you so much. I guess that as we transition into questions, I just want to, again, thank you for bringing this information forward. One of the things you didn't touch upon, which I think would be really interesting for this group, is the aquaponics.
Yep.
So I don't know, has anybody actually been to the farm or not? And I feel like maybe a few of you. It is quite a sight to see. We had a health task force meeting there about a year ago at this point, and everybody was really at awe with the programs that's happening. I think it's if you could talk really quickly about that and how that really engages the youth. One of our commissioners, Commissioner Cooley, was just mentioning, sometimes the overlap that happens with the access to food or access to maybe these opportunities and maybe crime or any of the other issues that we see in our society and how that can be addressed. So kind of engaging, like how do you get the aquaponics into that like engagement. I feel like a lot of young people get really excited when they see something like that.
Yeah, I was like really impressed and excited about it. I'm not a farmer. I'm a nurse by training. My background is in public health, but when I joined Windy City Harvest and I saw the work that was happening there, I was just really floored and amazed. So the aquaponics is a method of growing produce. It's something that you don't often see, but really what it is taking fertilizer from fish. And that fertilizer provides nutrients to plants so that the plants can grow. When you're using a nutrient resource like fertilized water, you don't need as much soil to grow your produce. And so when you don't need that much soil, it allows you to then grow indoors rather than outdoors. And growing indoors in Chicago is a big deal because then you could grow all year round. I mean, you don't have to have any stop work in November and December. And so the primary produce that we grow at the farm in Ogden is lettuce. And you could also grow other types of greens in an aquaponics system like kale or spinach. But those grow really well outside, and they even grow well after season extension in like November and early December. The lettuce is a little finicky, so that's why we grow that indoors. The system also has special lighting with lights that emit the good healthy rays that the sun would give the plants if they were outdoors. So it's a really like high-tech system that our team, that's their expertise. They're able to make sure that we have healthy fish so that we can have healthy plants and have it in a more sustainable way. So kids are really attracted to the whole system. Adults are as well. So being able to see the connection, the whole ecosystem in action, really draws a lot of kids to to the work. And the more kids that we can get into the building to tour and show them the work, I think the better. And so we're hoping to really expand on that over the next year or two.
Thank you. And then you mentioned the last thing, then I'll say so we went to the grocery place where you all have, and to your point, there you do sell affordable prices, or have affordable prices in selling them.
Yeah.
This group often talks about like social enterprises and like how to really, we have the master expert of social enterprises right next to me here. So it's not necessarily that the Farm in Ogden is really making that much money, but is it somehow kind of helping out with that? And I know it's probably not at the level and caliber that again our vice chair is used to, but
yes.
But I was very interested when I went to go visit the fact that it is somehow also connecting and people being able to purchase that as well. So it's not only just through the RX mechanism, but it's also through actually making the community, making it accessible to the community.
Yes, it's open to the public 5 days a week. We're working on getting more and more folks out to the store because we think that they can have good access to fresh, locally grown produce. It's really challenging for any grocery store to really, meet their bottom line, which is also difficult for us as well, particularly because at every step of the process, there's mission. So our job training program, every year we're bringing on board 50 new people. So can you imagine onboarding 50 new people every year where you're recruiting, onboarding, training, and then graduating? Then our produce prices, it's under market because we want to make sure that cost is not a barrier. So those two things, we're really grateful to the support that we get from the forest preserves, that the Botanic Garden is raising dollars to make sure that we could run and operate every day without any challenges, financial challenges. And so yeah, but it is otherwise it would be a really difficult situation. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's a very interesting and useful presentation, and thank you for your leadership. I want to kind of build on what you were just saying, and I'm looking at history where it was established as a C3, and the partners included the Botanic Garden, and now was absorbed into the Botanic Garden, which is Forest Reserve, right?
Right.
So that's a county endeavor. Yet I see all these partnerships. Are they all philanthropic partnerships? Are they strategic business partnerships? And you mentioned the store, and I presume that is earned revenue with some subsidy.
Yes.
What is the composition of the sources of funding that you have, and how does that relate to what it takes for you to remain sustainable, let alone scale up?
Yes, our financial partners, we receive government funding, federal government funding. So we're keeping a very close eye on that right now. So it's a federal funding. We do get some earned revenue from our produce sales.
Yeah.
And then I would say at least maybe 60% is philanthropic support that the
Okay,
garden.
two follow-up
is-
questions,
Yeah,
if I may. One you've already touched on. It seems as soon as you talk, it perhaps you get to the next thing I was going to ask. Anyway, you say you're keeping an eye on what's going on with
Yes.
the federal government. That's a very diplomatic way of saying what you said. So, and I appreciate that. So what steps are being taken in order to ensure the long-term sustainability of this organization and its mission?
Yeah, so I think coming in with an operations background, I think that we essentially want to make sure that we can maximize its efficiencies as much as we can. I think without the garden support, I think the organization would be really challenged in operating on its own. And so I think for us, it's really making sure that we continue to fundraise in the way we have been. We have individual supporters as also philanthropic supporters. The amount of produce that you can grow on a farm in comparison to the labor that it costs, it's not meeting like the.
I get it.
The bottom
And
line
I'll
there.
ask one more then. I'll
Sure,
defer to
sure,
you.
sure.
And that is, from the perspective of this commission,
Mhm,
which is looking to drive positive social change.
mhm,
And obviously you are already under the umbrella of the county.
Mhm.
But looking at it through our lens,
mhm.
are there activities, policies, regulations, ordinances that
Mhm.
could be of utility to you as you pursue your mission during these complicated and challenging times, especially, when you talk workforce development, and I'm deeply involved in the evolving social enterprise community. We look at workforce development as kind of the gold standard by which it really creates opportunities for empowerments for disinvested communities and marginalized people and so on. Are there ways in which you think we might collaborate with what you're doing as kind of a cousin organization?
Yeah, so one thing that comes to mind is so much of the Chicagoland area, it's zoned for commercial residential, but not for urban agriculture. And that just makes the challenge to build sites for capital much more difficult. And every year we go through the challenges of having to kind of like restart a farm. And it's hard to do that when there are department challenges where we call here for this, we call there for that. And it's really like, wait, is for a farm? Like, tell me more about that. And so it's really because the infrastructure of Chicago is more commercial and
You're talking
residential.
bureaucracy.
Yeah, very diplomatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can bring the chainsaw in, or maybe we could do it a little more gently. So you mentioned the city just then.
Mhm.
And from the perspective of the county,
Yes.
are there other things that we might do or be helpful for or be aware of or communicate or message to others on your behalf? Or, obviously you'd like to be helpful and supportive of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's very important societally. And if you think there are things that and you don't necessarily need to answer this in a fulsome way right now, but over time, if things occur to you where we might be of utility,
Yeah.
we'd love to add value to what you're doing in any way we can.
Yeah. So because we have a partnership with the county with forest preserves,
Right.
any funding and support that we are eligible for is allocated for the main campus. And so being able to expand partnerships, being able to have dollars be allocated for future sites, I think that would be something that we would significantly help us to support operations.
When you say main campus, do you mean the one on the
Here's
No.
the one in Glen.
Yes, the one in Glencoe, yes. Mhm.
I think Commissioner Johnson online has a question. What do you have?
Sure. Hi, Carmen. Good to see you. This reminded me, not identical at all, but tangential to, if you're not familiar, Friends of Anacostia Park in Washington, D.C. Is a partnership between a nonprofit and the National Park Service, but they use the green space to engage the citizens and visitors. Um, they aren't in the farming space, but they're using every other aspect of the green space. If you're not familiar, maybe worth just looking at it, maybe an opportunity to further utilize the forest preserve land to engage visitors and help make better use of it and get more people out into the fresh air and doing other activities up to and including the farming that you've um, identified. So it brought to mind that project. So if you haven't, take a look at it. Maybe some.
Great, excellent, thank you. Wrote that down.
Thank you. Sometimes I am top surgeon by day and night.
Huh?
So you mentioned something that piqued my curiosity, which was essentially the job training program for return citizens or people who are just involved. There have been randomized controlled trials in Philadelphia looking at green spaces and beautification approaches as a vehicle to alter, reduce potential violence.
Mhm.
So there's another angle to your work that may be a funding stream depending on who is willing to listen,
Mhm.
which is if you can scale these activities and prove that it alters people's lives,
Yeah.
maybe another approach
Yes.
to expand funding.
Yeah, that's a really great point. We with our therapeutic horticulture program, we mostly work with veterans. And I think the spirit and the outcome of therapeutic horticulture could really be a benefit for anybody who's experienced trauma, whether they're adolescents, people with intimate partner violence, all of and so being able to expand that program to reach other communities, I think is really important to us. So being able to share it from that perspective, I think makes sense.
I've been to the Chicago to back about that. And I'm going to start by so talk a little bit. But every time I go there, I feel more peace.
At peace, yes.
Yeah. I'm more peaceful after I leave than when I was coming.
Yes.
So there's a way to get more. And, it's striking how many people don't even know it.
And it's you just walking in there, being in there, you automatically feel like you're in a safe space.
Even
Like,
in the middle.
yes, and that should be a feeling that residents in the South and the West Side should have.
Oh, 100%. I have another question or a question. Is any of the work that you guys do at your site on the botanical gardens, do you do anything having to do with training people about a green economy, being participants in a green economy, or working with the heat island effect? Or, I mean, we're not an island, but the fact that we're a concrete community. And pulling kids, younger adults up to be leaders in the green economy, because there's a program like yours, kind of sort of, but with the green economy aspect in New York, and they partner with NYCHA. It's Green City Force, and they partner with NYCHA, and they pull kids out of housing development, and they train them in the green economy, and they get them out into the workforce, or they spark them. Mark would enjoy this. They spark them to be entrepreneurs and do social enterprise work. So I'm wondering if you guys do anything with the green economy.
So we have our incubator program. So our incubator program is the one where we're teaching a bit more. But now that you mentioned just the physical infrastructure, so there's some farms that we have where the amount of the taxing amount of the weather on our staff, because there aren't enough trees in the area just increases significantly. So farming is already a very labor intensive field and sector. But when you are in a place where you are in a heat zone, it's even more so. And I think that's something, to your point about like, what else is there that infrastructure wise that we could do? I mean, that is a big problem. We see slightly lower productivity on those farms than in others where there's a lot more support in other ways like trees.
Commissioner, we're gonna go really quickly to Commissioner Raymer, had her hand up for a minute, and then we'll Commissioner Caliento, and then we'll go to mails.
Okay. Hi, Carmen. Thank you for your presentation. I was really happy to see BMO's logo listed on one of the supporters that you have. I'm in the community giving department at BMO, and our grant to the farm is really one of our favorites because we just love what you guys are doing. I'd love to hear more about that Veggie RX program. You mentioned it was an expensive model. And I'd like to okay, why? And your main partner is the Lawndale Christian Health Center. Are you looking for more health partners like with the hospital systems and things like that? Is there anything we can help to make connections, or is it ready for expansion yet? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that program.
Yes, it's an expensive program. And what I mean by that is last year we distributed about 30,000 boxes of produce over the course of the year. About 40% of that was what we were able to grow. So the rest was purchased. And so that's the part that gets really expensive. And we have partnered with hospitals in the past, mostly emergency departments. The issue there is that oftentimes in an emergency room, a patient might not be ready to really talk about produce prescription or about a farm. So we've always felt that the model is best with a primary care setting. So either in a QHC where part of doing diet and nutrition counseling is done as part of an annual visit where the patient is more likely to be in the right mindset to listen and take that guidance. So for us, we've seen that better success with primary care partners.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I know that a lot of the hospitals have community outreach programs. I'm thinking in particular of Rush. And, we fund it's named the Rush BMO Institute for Health Equity. And one of their programs that we've helped expand was their outreach to new moms. And they've hired nurses and practitioners that go into the home of these new moms and are providing that one-on-one everything. So to me, that might be an interesting link for this program. So not necessarily at the hospitals. Okay, here's some potatoes as you get your, wound sewn up or something, but those more community outreach programs. So if you'd like to talk more, just let me know on that.
Sure. Rush does have a very well-known community engagement department within a system.
And then there are health centers in schools and things like that. So if you'd like to talk more about that or make a connection, just let me know.
Great, thank you.
Hola, Carmen.
Hola.
Apologies everyone for my tardiness. I have a question about your job training. Is that you all are doing? What does that look like? Do you have partners for that? What is that?
Yes. So
I probably missed.
So we partner with a DFSS, so they help support the program. And some of our partners are like the North Lawndale Employment Network. They refer possible candidates to the job training program over to us. We work with Lawndale Christian Health Center, My Black My Hood, like just a number of different community-based organizations who are working on perhaps doing like case management with different people who are part of their program. And then when it's time for us to start recruiting for the programs, then they'll refer them to us. And then we do the screening and then invite them to the information sessions to really teach about the job training program, because it can be really taxing to be outside. The work is really heavy. So we want to make sure that people really understand what the work is and want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and being fair to them and letting them know what's involved in the work. Yes,
Is it paid training?
yes, it's
How
paid
long is
training.
it?
It's 14 weeks and we do 2 cohorts a year and every cohort has 15 people. Yeah.
Friends in the Marc
Yeah.
to you too.
Even our apprenticeship program. So once somebody moves into that apprenticeship role, they have a paid field experience as well. Yes.
How's diversity looking? Is there like, do you see people of color that are women or other people that maybe historically, people with disabilities that want to do it?
Yeah.
How can we help make sure that we're also getting information out to folks that may have never seen themselves in that space, but ultimately could be part of that green economy, part of all of the shift that we're seeing here?
Yep. About 90% of our job trainees come from Black and Brown communities.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's definitely interest. It's just about making it.
Yes.
We'll go to Commissioner Mills and then Franco.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I just want to make sure, Carmen, can you hear in the room? Excellent. Hi. Um, I'm particularly interested in the economic development aspect to this that relates to your training. And I know it's a large burden you've taken on with that many folks to be apprentices and go into hopefully roles in the field to keep this going. Have you interacted with the hatchery at all and Natalie at the hatchery?
Yeah, we've they have a fantastic program over there. We've learned from their commercial kitchen use and the work that they do in bringing young entrepreneurs to use their kitchen space for their co-ops, for value added product. And so that's probably been the extent of our partnership, but would love to connect with them even more.
Well, given the state of incubators in the city and in the region, going more virtual and leaving office space, the one thing that you can't use AI to do is to grow something and to figure out how to make that product, move it to market, and all the other things. I think with food, you're very safe by encouraging more young people to go into the food ag space. And I hope if if the hatchery isn't uh, you know, the end answer. There has to be more, and I would be happy to connect you with more entrepreneurial and innovation aspects of commercial kitchens, where I think they would welcome some assistance that's, paid, as you say. So thank you
Yes.
so much. Thank you.
Yep. Happy to be connected for sure.
Okay.
I've got a ton of questions. Full disclosure, Delta Institute, where I'm from, was part of the many, many groups way back in the 2000s thing. And it was very clear because of the very amazing community-based model that the institutional structure that the Botanic Garden had would be the best to run at this time. So there was a lot of choices about how to structure this, but because of the many needs of the different programs, it's made it. But so I've got lots of questions. We brought up, there's a lot of costs for this program, but you really only have very kind of small revenue stream. And it's not quite as diversified because you can't monetize all the benefits of the community that come from it, like safety, like green space, like health. So one question that we've been trying to tackle at Delta, not with food, but with other programs, is the role of insurance and how you actually have a community and how they might pay for some of this stuff for very expensive children.
Yes. Yes, well, they should absolutely be paying. There's like no question, no doubt. It's prevention. It's way more cost effective. Also, it's cheaper to pay for Proto than to pay for GPL. So that's for sure something that they should be doing. Their hesitation is unless we see data on paper. There's more and more in this discussion, but that's because the evidence is starting to build. And so we are part of a American Diabetes Association study where last year we enrolled 50 participants in our VeggieRx program to be able to do follow up with them on some biometric markers like their glucose A1C, their hypertension levels to see to document improvements in that. so that insurance payers would be willing to, consider paying for this. They should be paying for this. We're we're listening to the 1115 waiver discussions, because we know that food is medicine, and being able to make that connection and being part of the state's program is something that we want to make sure that we're part of. They're still working on the details of it and trying to understand where the programs will be running and operating. And so we're hoping to be able to be eligible to be part of that process. Again, some payers, they're still hesitant to fully pay for it, but we're working on building that evidence. So we had that article that came out last year, and then we're actively in the ADA study. I'm hoping to contribute to that evidence.
And so one of the other issues with urban agriculture is the scaling component that you kind of talked about.
Mhm.
So a couple of questions there. So the aquaponics obviously is more expensive to operate, but exponentially more produce comes off for the whole year. Have you been looking at trying to expand aquaponics or even containerized growing? Number one, and then subset question number two, have you looked at larger sites outside of the city in Cook County that would be good scale?
Yeah, we haven't looked outside of Cook County. We're interested in some of those big box stores that are no longer in operation. There's a potential to think about hydroponics, vertical farming. We're actually going to be doing an assessment of the farm on Ogden's aquaponics space this year, really to make sure that whatever physical infrastructure investment that we make is the right decision over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. So we want to make sure that we're maximizing the use of that space. But I think that there's still opportunity here in Chicago. We want to consider indoor farming. The outdoor farming, it's still a little bit challenging because of, it's weather dependent. Also, there's a lot of environmental hazard studies that need to be done to make sure that we're growing in places where it's appropriate. But I think those big box stores that are no longer occupied are opportunities.
And then from a Cook County perspective, have you had any conversations with the Cook County, the health system services, or could there be some conversation there to support them?
We could probably, yeah. We haven't had those conversations, at least not in the last year that I've been there, but yes, I would love a connection.
Yeah, I will talk.
It's okay.
But there's I don't know if you've looked into a program called DC Greens out of Washington, D.C. Very similar mission.
Okay.
Nonprofit as well. And then on the south side, connecting to Emerald South, their Terraform project. And I can.
Yes, I'm getting so much out of this.
Well, with the county health, we know that our previous commissioner, who since then has passed away, Commissioner Dennis Deere, did the Food is Medicine initiative with the county health. So that's been one of the initiatives we're trying to figure out how to pick up again. So there's a natural partnership there that could be created. We could definitely kind of tap into that for sure. Especially because there is a small allocation for like the usage of projects like an app potentially or something, right? As a map of like where people can access fresh foods, or even restaurants, the small businesses, so that we are helping them through this process of getting our restaurants and our small businesses and to actually cook healthier. And then how to really tap into that to really uplift their business as part of this overall push of healthy eating in communities that in many ways have not had access to produce and fresh food. So those are definitely things we can look into.
Yeah, excellent. Great.
Yes, Commissioner. Oh, sorry.
We'll go with Commissioner first. We'll take it long.
Roger Cooley with the Chicago Concert. So a lot of collaboration over the years within the City Harvest. And really, especially in the incubator program where you guys a lot of new farmers who started looking for land access, scaling up over time, and then starting to become part of the pathway for not just, and I think that's one of the best roles that you guys have had is being kind of helping bring more folks and build capacity for folks to become their own entrepreneurs in the space, and then find opportunities for selling back to the space. So building on the good food purchasing policy, which was originally adopted by the commission, and implemented by the Department of Public Health.
Mhm.
Really seeing some other opportunities for connecting with the food as medicine, knowing that the hospital is looking to purchase directly as well,
Mhm.
but also building off the Medicare waiver,
Mhm.
which I know that is in the room, but it's an opportunity for using Medicare dollars to purchase directly
Mhm.
food from farmers and meal providers. So it's a really excellent economic opportunity. So we're about getting county cares more engaged.
On that
Okay.
level,
County
Well,
care would be a
Well, yeah.
game changer.
I mean, no, yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously, we're all keeping a really close eye on what's happening at the federal level. We've been briefed, regarding what can happen with Medicaid and the impact of county care, specifically on what's gonna be like reimbursed or used, but definitely we can, tap into that a little bit and look into it.
Yeah, but thinking about folding in potentially into the public access conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, I'll share a incubator success story from last year. We were working with this incubator farm, Outer Oaks, and through the conservation fund that launched a few years ago, they were able to purchase 40 acres in Woodstock last year. So they're going to be, I mean, they're big time now, and so being able to have local produce like that as part of the Winnie City Harvest program. And now being able to have that level of that size business, produce that'll be back here in the Chicagoland area. I mean, I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and the Department of Sustainability is also looking at doing an asset map of urban agriculture in the suburban Cook County region.
Hmm.
But with funding from our county governors. Right. So really interesting connection.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Mhm.
He wants to.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was extremely informative and very exciting. So thank you, Commissioner, for linking, because I think that county government is very large and there's so much that is going on within so many areas of Cook County government. And it's exciting to see and hear about ways that we can coordinate, collaborate, and amplify the work that we each do. And I think during these times that are very challenging, it's even more important that we figure out how to partner and leverage one another's resources in order to make bigger things happen.
Yes.
So I head up the county's Bureau of Economic Development. Under the Bureau, we have many components that would align very well with what you're doing. We work very closely with the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership that has a lot of training dollars. And we do quite a bit with them and the Forest Preserve on conservation type of apprenticeship programs. So I could see some synergies there. The other thing is that we have a small business resource work area. And I think that there are opportunities for us to think about how we align, how we connect some of your potential small businesses and entrepreneurs that want to start their own business to this resource so that we can provide a good path forward.
Yeah.
There's also an opportunity to think big in terms of your big box stores. As the commissioner mentioned, suburban Cook County may be a bit easier than looking at the city limits. There's so much opportunity within suburban Cook County. And within the Bureau of Economic Development, that's where we primarily focus. Because what we see happening in the south and west sides of the city are similar to the dynamics within Southland and the western suburbs. So we have a very strong focus in the Southland and the western suburbs. And many of the initiatives that we're exploring are similar to, align very well to the work that you're doing. In particular, there are various programs where we're focused on right now 5 communities in partnership with United Way to do more place-based investments and give communities an opportunity to really think about what resources they might need, develop their own strategic plans, and part of it aligns with access to food. So that's something that we can definitely partner with. The other part that we're evolving currently is really exploring the arts and are working very closely with Liz to, again, very place-based and community-focused, where community partners are identifying arts opportunities to invigorate their neighborhoods and invigorate their economic corridors. And part of it might be community gardens. So I'd like to also facilitate introductions to LISC and some of the work that we're doing in the arts. I think there's some synergies there. So a lot, as I'm looking at your work. So I've listed a full crew of people that I'm going to just bring together and have you present to the team so we can find opportunities and synergies between our programs.
Wonderful. You have my contact info, right? To be able to give out to everyone. Yeah.
Peter, I think it's your turn. Just a few points. So I had an opportunity to see the apartment.
Oh, okay, great.
Which is on the it's an amazing place. And that was actually because it was a group, it was organized by the Illinois Agri-Food, which is a statewide alliance, which has a workplace component to it. And the aim of this alliance is to grow these networks. So there are a lot of players in this field of agricultural employment, going from growing the food, processing the food, cooking the food, actively involved with also making things out of agricultural sources, like plastics and biofuels and things like that. And the employment that goes on. So there's an infrastructure that's being grown, and they're one of the organizations that they can actually co-chair the DEI workforce committee. So to answer your question, there is a lot of attention that's being given to employment and engaging people. One of the big advocates behind this is Lieutenant Governor Strick. You wouldn't think this from the South Side, but she has the rural portfolio for the state government, and her daughter's a farmer.
She's actually in one of our training programs. Yeah.
So there are potential alliances here.
Yeah.
That can extend beyond Cook County, and that you should think about how to integrate with these different alliances. And the other one actually is CPS, which we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
You know, they have an agricultural school.
Yeah.
On the south side, and they grow things.
Yeah.
And they train future farmers.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of players in this field. And then one last thing on the hydroponics, there was an effort in Bedford Park to create a big hydroponics. The problem with that, and I visited this 10 years ago, it's the capital.
Yeah.
And then also with, as lighting has improved, the operational costs, energy. It's oddly not water. Water is recycled. They're a very low water use operation. You wouldn't think of it. But it's energy and capital. And that's what kills the economic.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. I hadn't connected the dots of what you just mentioned about Juliana, but I think it's important for us to also look at the multi-level, because we've talked about zoning, we talked about other things, and those are other players that we need to somehow bring into the conversation to figure out if there is anything additional that we can do to create a support system for urban farming. We just earlier today had passed a resolution, Degnan had, so it was regarding farming, but she also mentioned urban farming and like what do we do as well as a county. So there's even interest within the commissioners to actually again create these support systems. So thanks for making those connections for us. Appreciate it.
I'm happy to come back or be part of anything that helps to push any of this forward. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I think what we've concluded is through the hub and may not have known it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So pull in the spokes.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll all help you.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me here. Yeah.
Yeah, so please, rely on us as think partners through any potential challenges that we do have, like, Vice Chair Lane mentioned, any policy initiatives that, that maybe didn't come to mind right now, but along this process, you see certain opportunities in expanding and what those potential barriers are. And then we'll fire us.
And as those potential barriers become more difficult, as I suspect they might, please count on us to hold hands with you. 'Cause we'll
Thank
be
you.
there for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are gonna turn it over to Vice Chair for updates. We have some really exciting news.
Yeah, should we do that or should we do the working groups first?
We can do the working group.
Why don't we do
Yeah,
that
let's
first?
do
It may
that.
be fairly abbreviated. I think we had representatives of at least two of the working groups present. Commissioner Cooley, do you have a report for us? Why don't, if you don't mind?
I can tag you it.
So we're working on trying to pull together Commissioner and your team, getting the public assets task force on. Again, bring together several departments, maybe county plus external partners, to look at what is the strategy the county can develop collaboratively with other partners to make sure that communities have public assets that aren't necessarily generally provided privately, but are not in all communities. So food retail, pharmacies, childcare, public banking services.
Farming locations.
Yes, well, open space, green infrastructure across the board. And so had a few conversations with the president's office.
So we've met already with the president and with the chief of staff, so we're working through what that really looks like. But, Roger's been leading some of those conversations, so we're very appreciative of his guidance to this.
Tentative partnership with the Civic Consulting Alliance, if the county would move forward. Conversation with Chicago Community Trusts, some compatriots, or Commissioner Brutus's compatriots, for potential funding as well, but also really seeing this as how to pull in, folks who are doing this sector work. Having more holistic vision. Make sure these communities have asset that they. But they had found through a partner, Cincinnati, who had a relationship with a staffer on Cincinnati City Council. They just passed a grant program that connects food access and issues. That's live right now. So it's like $850,000 grant for doing a multi-community assessment plan. Two issues together. So I think we can get them to present in the cycle coming up.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. Thank you for your leadership. But I would also suggest you may want to connect with the working group and looking at community wellness and public safety, because that obviously there's a connection there, and I don't think Commissioner Alston is here. Am I right?
Not today.
No.
Yeah, but you guys may want to huddle on that issue. Yeah.
And then a couple of just more updating things.
Please.
So we're in the middle of our Chicago Food Justice Summit, which is sponsored by the Chicago Community Department of Public Health, County Department of Public Health, part of the moving forward on good purchasing policy. And tomorrow it's in person at the South Center. Also free events, several hundred folks there. There's some stuff around Illinois planning, some stuff around interruptions, but 40 different local vendors. Sometimes shows up. And then a lot of local vendors as part of that.
Appreciate that. That is wonderful.
And then there's an extension of the good purchasing policy. There's a state bill up right now. It's in committee, HB 3701, in the Ag and Conservation Committee, sponsored by Representative Sonia Hartford. Then we get the state institutions to that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Is there a vote or a public hearing coming up?
That'll be Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Would you be interested in, the Social Innovation Commission, providing a letter of support?
That would be great.
Or filing a witness slip, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good report.
Yeah.
Ron Purvis, thank you so much. So, are you in a position to?
Well, I'm gonna make a, I'm not, but I can always say something.
We're looking for.
So, from a public safety committee, has added this book, that amount, I'm gonna use a generic term, home wellness among members and their families. We have not had significant board been able to get together. You know, they've just been life has been. But and some of it involved. Pretty final. But we are plodding along as members, commissioners may recall. Dr. Brian Samuels had presented from Chapin Hall, and for that, I'm having a brain cramp. I was just in board, Dr. Boyd with the picture. I saw his face and I hear Dr. Boyd presented on his work on fathers, healthy fatherhood.
Yeah.
And we're connecting those through an attempt in partnership with all of the University of Chicago's Trauma Center to better understand the lived experience of victims of violence and create not just narratives, but what are the interventions, city, municipality level that could have potentially for future gun violence. So there's that work is ongoing. We're doing some fundraising, some of the technical aspects of that initiative, but it's turned out it hasn't been done before. But just that was hard and it hasn't been done again.
That's really good for you to do.
That's we are, so stay tuned. And I'm hoping that everybody who's coming in the dark.
Hey, Dr. Raj, may I ask you this? My recollection is, so my recollection is that we provided the support for Chapin Hall, and on the strength of that, my understanding was they said that's all we will need to go out and get the money we need to do this empirical research. So I don't know where that went anyway.
Brian Samuel, that's shopping the letter and the ideas to various philanthropic organizations, including Chicago Community Trust, National, a few others.
Yeah.
Just Foundation, etc. It's in the had commission also, everything's almost through him. So next meeting, more.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It helps to let me know.
Yeah.
And so thank you for that. Thank you for stepping in. And then I think we have Commissioner Raymer and Commissioner Freeman both here. Is there your working group?
Hi, I don't think we have an update, Kristen, unless you have something that you've been working on. But I would like to make a bit of a statement or a suggestion. So, this has been such a fantastic meeting with so many people, like you said, Mark, joining hands and lending our support. And it's really inspiring and encouraging. And, I'm mindful of the, pressures that the state of Illinois is under. We're in the crosshairs of the federal administration in many ways. And as an, and fostering things in Cook County, perhaps as we have our future meetings, we can ask them the testimonies or the organizations to share what impacts they are facing as it relates to any federal funding freezes or any, pressures. I would really like to learn and hear about that element in the social sector and the nonprofit sector through these meetings, and really for us keeping that in mind, how we can be a support during this time.
Well, let me react to this in a limited way. I think it's a very good suggestion. There is an organization called Nonprofit Utopia. It's run by Valerie Lennon, some of you may know her. She's a nonprofit consultant. She had a panel discussion on Facebook Live week before last on that very subject. And Danny Davis was on, Ralph Martin, as you may know, budget and accountability guy was on, I was on, and there was an hour and a half conversation through the lens of nonprofit organizations and what steps they can take, should take, might take in light of the present challenges. So you may want to take a look at that. It was covered by the local press as well. But if you go to Valerie's Facebook page, you can find a link to that. And I would encourage you to take a look at that, but not at all to diminish what you're proposing as, I think, a very excellent suggestion. Beyond that, and I started by asking about your working group. Is there anything any of us can do to help catalyze those efforts?
I think we're okay for now. Kristen and I will get together and see where we are. I think the last work that we were doing was related to collective ownership and that element, CBIs. So I could, like to continue with that work.
Okay, if I can ask, and if others can, I'm sure they too would be happy to help because it's obviously an important piece of the puzzle. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that may be the conclusion of the working group reports.
Yes.
So with your permission, Madam Chair, I do want to introduce Rick Bechtold, who is a fellow board member on the Social Enterprise Chicago organization to let everybody know about the activity and event that's coming up. It is co-hosted by the Commission on Social Innovation and Social Enterprise Chicago. So Brooke, if you take it over and everybody will do it.
On April 4th, over at University of Illinois Chicago, we are having a symposium from 8 to noon on Friday the 4th. And what we are doing is we are bringing together experts on social innovation and experts like Dr. Cooley is one of our speakers to help bring along the same lines of what the Botanic Garden had presented. We are trying to bring social enterprises into the conversation with assets within county government to see if there are any working partnership opportunities, but also to educate these social enterprises, nonprofits, for-profits, whatever, that there are actual programs that you guys are working on that they don't know about. And to get them in the know and get them in the line of communication. So there will be a lot of question and ask. There will be a lot of networking opportunities. There will be a number of presenters on all different levels, including the legal side of what it is to be a social enterprise and all of that, all of those important discussions. So we hope that you guys will join us. It's free, obviously. Again, it's at UIC 8 to 4 on April 4th. We're really looking forward to it.
So let me supplement Brooke's remarks, if I may. So we see this as two complementary organizations, one governmental, the other nonprofit. Social Enterprise Chicago is a convener, collaborator, catalyst, seeking to empower market-based entrepreneurs who have social impact on their radar. And that's really what they're about. Were it not for their social missions, that wouldn't be existing. But they're using business strategies. And this is an evolving area, one where Chicago is probably the most robust center of activity in the nation. And we have some representation here, social enterprises. So that entity is looking really to engage and educate not only nascent and seasoned social entrepreneurs, but all of the stakeholders around that space. Investors, philanthropic funders, governmental players who have an interest in supporting that work. And then similarly, the commission's work is less well-known than it ought to be. We want to use this as an opportunity to amplify messaging around what we have been doing these years, what we've accomplished, and how it benefits the evolving social impact ecosystem. So part of this is going to be county officials from land bank, from procurement, others talking about what the county can do for social entrepreneurs and those who support them. But Social Enterprise Chicago will similarly talk about business models, entity designs, funding strategies, and we will approach this in a cohesive, systematic, and I think hopefully very useful way. So there is an invitation on the screen, but I would ask if staff would be so kind as to send all the commissioners an invitation, and we would welcome your letting everyone attending, and two, letting it be known among your circle, both personally and through your respective social media channels, that this is happening. We'd love to see as many folks out there as we can. We're intending this to be the first of several such educational offerings jointly hosted by the Commission and Social Enterprise Chicago. And we'd love to see you there. We'd love to see your colleagues there or anyone you think might benefit from that total immersion type experience around social enterprise. So thanks for that. Thank you. Appreciate your telling the story.
Any questions on that? Any other announcements?
Yeah, Delta Institute is hosting a panel discussion on climate refugees on March 27th, and the impact that they're going to have in the city, the county, and the region. We've got 4 amazing panelists, including Deputy Mayor. We're going to actually, we're announcing our panels tomorrow.
I didn't get it, Deputy Mayor.
Where can we find a flyer to uplift?
It's on Delta Institute's website,
Okay.
but I can also.
Yeah, if you could distribute that, we, would love to spread the word on that too, Bill.
Really
Thank
great
you.
topic. 2 words that you can't say the administration, but.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Any other? Okay, well, we look forward to seeing you all at these upcoming events. We're really excited for all of the work that's being done and is coming out of this commission, and especially because now we're taking some of this work and really uplifting it in the community and really making it accessible to folks. So again, thanks for being a part of that. I don't think there's any other new business that we have to present today, so we will adjourn. So I'll take a motion for adjournment. Moved by Roger. Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Stay safe, everybody. Be well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, good night, everyone.
Well, thank you.